from Olympic Stadium in Montreal, Canada, WWOR-TV presents Mets Baseball 88. As tonight, the Mets take on the Montreal Expos. Mets Baseball 88 is brought to you this evening by Busch Beer, the beer with a taste as smooth as its name. By Manufacturers Hanover, the financial source worldwide. By Nissan Cars and Trucks, built for the most important race of all, the human race. By the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages, the one that works. And by the Good Olds Guys, your New York, New Jersey, and Southern Connecticut Oldsmobile dealers. Pitching for the Mets tonight, left-hander Bob Ojeda, who last year was 3-5 with an ERA of 3.88. And on the mound for the Expos, it's left-hander Neil Heaton, who in '87 was 13-10 with an ERA of 4.52.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Kiner, along with Steve Zabriskie and Tim McCarver, and we're all set for the final game of this three-game series. Both teams have won one ball game, and tonight there will be two left-handers on the mound for this game. And the Mets going against a left-hander for the first time. Neil Heaton will be on the mound, and of course the Mets have changed their lineup for the left-hand pitcher. One reason, Kevin McReynolds is injured, and he is not able to play, a very strong right-hand batter. And they have put Mookie Wilson in the lineup, the bat from the right-hand side, and Tim Tuffle will be playing at second base. Left-handers, Tim, and the Mets against left-handers, not necessarily on paper, don't do as well as they do against right-hand pitching.
Well, the Mets, contrary to the Expos last year batted .285 against left-handed pitching while batting only .247 as a team against right-handers. Now, their record was better against right-handed pitching, but they hit left-handers well, which I guess meant the pitching matchups were so much better against the Expos when they had left-handers going. But I think it's rather strange. Here it is, the third game of the season, and already Lenny Dykstra's being platooned with Mookie Wilson leading off and playing center field. And, of course, the Kevin McReynolds thing, we'll try to have some word about how serious that knee operation, or not operation, but they're checking it tonight, and we'll have word about it throughout the game.
And also Lee Mazzilli has been inserted in the lineup, another switch hitter. So we'll be back with the ball game right after this message from Busch Beer. Neil, a left-hander with a record of 13-10, an earned run average of 4.52 last year. 37 walks, 105 strikeouts, gave up 207 hits and 193 in the third innings. Neil Heaton going for Montreal.
Okay, and here's that revamped lineup that we were talking about. There you have it. Mookie Wilson in center and leading off. Lee Mazzilli in left field batting second. Keith Hernandez normally in the third spot there again. Darryl Strawberry off to a rapid start hitting fourth. Gary Carter has moved into the number 5 spot. Howard Johnson hitting 6th this evening. Tim Tuffle batting 7th. So he was batting second against the right-hander, 7th against the left-hander. Kevin Elster, the shortstop, hitting 8th, and Bobby Ojeda batting 9th.
And the defense for Heaton will be Galarraga at first base, Candell at second, Rivera playing shortstop, Wallach at third, Raines, Webster, and Brooks in the outfield, and the catcher Mike Fitzgerald. The only change by the Montreal Expos, as Fitzgerald, the right-hand batter, has replaced Jeff Reed. And Mookie Wilson will lead it off. Mookie has yet to have a time at bat so far this year, and the first pitch, a fastball fouled back out of play. Mookie last season hit .299 with 9 home runs, 34 runs batted in. Mookie against left-hand pitching hit .271 last year with 3 home runs and 13 RBIs, hit .338 against right-hand pitching. This ball hit the deep right center field. It'll be extra bases. It's one hop off the fence, and Mookie on his way to third, and he'll go in easily. Ball gets away, and it is back up by Heaton, so Mookie holds at third base, and the Mets have a base hit with their leadoff batter.
I don't think anybody could have handled the situation of Len Dykstra and Mookie Wilson any better than Mookie Wilson has. He's expressed a desire to be traded, but in the process, he has not allowed that expression of that desire to get in the way of his preparing for the season, and that's an indication of how he's prepared.
A leadoff triple by Mookie Wilson, and that'll bring up Lee Mazzilli playing in left field. Lee, a switch hitter, batted .306 last year, and he fouls off a fastball. Lee with 3 home runs, 24 RBIs, and used mainly as a pinch hitter by the Mets. He has been up one time this year without a base hit. Zilli, as a pinch hitter, tied for the major league lead in pinch hits with 17 last year, tied with Wallace Johnson of Montreal. Expos are playing their infield back. Mets batting with a runner at third, and we're just underway. Fastball for ball one. The count 1 ball, 1 strike.
Infield's back, but at third base, you can see Tim Wallach a couple of steps behind the baseline, as is Galarraga at first.
The umpires for this game: Randy Marsh, Dana DeMuth, also Harry Windelstadt and Dutch Renner. This ball popped up in foul territory. Fitzgerald over it. He makes a nice play. Home plate covered by the pitcher Neil Heaton, so Mookie holds at third.
I'll tell you, that's a big out right there, because now Hernandez has to deliver at least a sacrifice fly if the Mets are going to play to run. Good play by Fitzgerald. The catchers, first baseman, and third baseman have a long way to run here at Olympic Stadium in Montreal, so you can't really give up on that foul ball.
And Keith Hernandez stepping in. Keith 1 for 8 so far this year, looking for his first run batted in. Last year he drove in 89 while hitting 18 home runs and batted .290. Again, the infield is back, with the exception of Wallach at third, where he is even with the bag. And the first pitch, a fastball.
Well, that's standard. You don't want to play your infield in early in a ball game. If a base hit is the result of playing the infield in early in the game, it could give way to a big inning.
1 ball, no strikes. And that fastball fouled away, so the count goes to 1-1. The Mets won the first game of the series, winning it big as they won by a score of 10-6, and then Montreal winning the second game by a score of 5-1 behind the fine pitching of Pascual Perez. One ball, 1 strike. And that pitch grounded foul, so it's 1-2. Last season against the Mets, Neal was 0-1 in 2 game starts, and he has that high earned run average, 11.32. He lost to Doug Siss back on June the 18th. That was his first year in the National League, coming over from the Minnesota Twins. Born in Jamaica, New York.
Yeah, he's real happy because he's pitched against 2 New York teams in 1 week. The Yankees played here over the weekend. He worked against the Yankees on Saturday night, and now the Mets here tonight.
He was in the Jeff Reardon trade, and the pitch back to Keith is a breaking ball outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Keith started to move and then held up in time. Two and 2 the count. Ground ball up the middle, a base hit for Keith. Mookie Wilson comes in to score from third, and the Mets take the lead 1-0 as Keith Hernandez comes through.
Hanging breaking ball. See that front shoulder of Hernandez? He is much jammable. I've talked to Keith about this a lot. He's much more jammable with 2 strikes because he really protects the plate. Look at that front shoulder. Now he gets the hanging breaking ball, spanks it up the middle to put the Mets on top.
So a runner at first with 1 man out. The Mets leading 1-0, and Darryl Strawberry the batter. Darryl 6 for 8 so far this year with 2 home runs. And the fastball for ball 1. Both of Darrell's home runs came with the bases empty, but off to a fine start. Missed the fastball, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Last year, Strawberry hit .284 with 39 home runs, 104 RBIs, and had 36 stolen bases. Club record for the Mets in runs batted in, 105. Rusty Staub holds that record. 2 balls, 1 strike. Also, Gary Carter with 105 RBIs. And the breaking ball for ball 3, 3-1. Hernandez, a runner at first base. 3-1 count to Darryl Strawberry, and Gary Carter on deck. Missed the fastball, 3-2.
I wouldn't send Hernandez here. Strawberry vulnerable to left-handed pitching. He batted only .230 against left-handers last year. The speed of the runner at first is not the indication as whether to send him or not.
It's the chance of the strikeout and the strikeout double play, and that ball fouled off, so the count 3 balls and 2 strikes.
And consider this, Strawberry grounded into 4 double plays last year. That was 4th lowest in the National League. So the chances are he's not going to ground into a double play. And the chances are better that he'll strike out than ground into a double play. That's why Hernandez isn't running.
Game of percentages, and it's played to the hilt. And that is ball 4. So Strawberry works out a walk, and the Mets have runners at first and second with 1 man out, and Gary Carter coming up. Carter's had difficulty against the Montreal Expos. Of course, he came to the Mets from Montreal. Was a big hero up here. So far, he's had 1 hit and 8 at bats. Last year, he hit .169 against the Expos with 1 home run and 6 runs batted in. Overall, he hit .235 last season with 20 home runs and 83 runs batted in. And the fastball, a strike. Neal has won 52 and lost 66 in his major league career. Off-speed pitch, and the count 1-1. Neil Heaton was the best pitcher in the National League last year not to pitch in the All-Star game. Davey Johnson did not pick him for the All-Star team. And Montreal unhappy about that. He had a fine record going in. He was 10-4 at the All-Star break. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Gives you an idea of how he completed the season. He won his last start of the year after dropping 6 straight in 10 starts after the All-Star break. So he only won 1 in his last 7 decisions.
He had a 6-game winning streak going when that All-Star break came around, and was 10-4. Fastball, and it's fouled back out of play. Two and 2, the count to Gary Carter. Mets leading 1-0. 1 man out. We're in the top of the 1st inning. Hernandez, the runner at second base. Strawberry behind him at first. With no one on base, Montreal uses a oversized shift against Gary Carter. They do have the second baseman shifted over a little bit near the bag at second. This ball hit out to deep right center field. Going back is Hubie Brooks, and he makes the catch. Hernandez tags up at second and goes to third. And the Mets have runners at third base. Hernandez there and first base. Strawberry there with 2 men out. That'll bring up Howard Johnson. Howard 1 for 7 so far this season. Batted .265 last year with 36 home runs, 95 runs batted in. Howard, of course, a switch hitter, but considered to be a better hitter from the left-hand side. In fact, in the early part of his career, he was a platoon ball player and batted from the left-hand side just about every time. Strawberry a threat to steal, and he draws the throw.
Yeah, but Howard was better hitter last year as a right-handed hitter. A better hitter against left-handed pitching. And last year was the only time. He had 15 home runs as a right-handed batter and had only 7 coming into last year against left-handers.
Strawberry just back.
Last year, Hojo hit .289 against left-handed pitching and .253 against right-handers, but he did have more power from the left side. He really improved his right-handed hitting last year.
First time he's really had a chance to hit right-handed.
Outside the minor leagues.
Heaton has a good move to first.
Good play by Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald digging that ball out. 1 ball, no strikes.
One of those 58-foot fastballs. Anything behind the plate that's a short hop is really an easy play for a catcher, even though it's in the dirt. But see how that ball hits in front of the plate? Those balls are in between hops, and they're never true. That's why that was not a normal play that Fitzy made.
He's a fine defensive ball player, and of course started his career with the Mets. He was in the Carter trade. This ball popped up in foul territory, and it is out of play.
Ball looked like it hit the middle of the screen, Ralph, when it came down.
Fitzgerald tied Jerry Grote's record for the best fielding percentage for a Mets catcher ever. That was back in 1984 when he was with the Mets. The count to Howard Johnson. Fastball missing, 2 balls, 1 strike.
Jerry Grote was the best defensive catcher I ever saw. Slight edge to him over Johnny Bench. Bench, of course, is an all-around player. One of the best catchers, if not the best catcher that's ever donned the gear.
2 balls, 1 strike. Joe Garagiola always says that they talk about catching. They always mention him along with Johnny Bench. And they always said that Joe Garagiola couldn't hold Johnny Bench's glove. And that pitch low. 3-1 the count. 3-1, 2 men away. Strawberry at first. And in front of him, Keith Hernandez at third.
I wouldn't send Darrell here.
Give Johnson a chance to have the 3-1 freedom, huh?
I think so.
Howard Johnson's not known for patience at the plate. Strawberry is running, and the pitch is high for ball 4, so it'll go as a walk to Johnson. And of course, Strawberry moves down to second on the walk. So the Mets have the bases loaded, and Tim Teufel will be coming up.
What is indeed a new year. Neil Heaton walking 2 in this inning, and he averaged less than 2 walks per 9 innings last year. He was second in the league as far as his control was concerned to Rick Rushell of the Giants and the Pirates. Rick traded in August to the Giants from the Pirates.
Teufel so far this spring has had 1 hit in 5 at-bats, and there's a called strike. Last year, Teufel batted .308. So Heaton working with the bases loaded. The Mets lead him 1-0. We're in the top of the first with 2 men out. Teufel batted .321 against left-hand pitching last season with 8 home runs. He hit 6 home runs against right-hand pitching and batted .284. Again, the fastball, 1 ball, 1 strike. Overall, Teufel hit .308 for the Mets with 14 home runs and 61 RBIs. Two balls, 1 strike. When spring training ended, it was announced that Tuffle would be the regular second baseman and Wally Backman would not play, but Backman did play in the second game of this 3-game series. And it's 3-1, so 3-1, bases loaded. Heaton with nowhere to put him.
Every hitter in the major leagues loves opportunities like this, realizing Heaton has to throw a fastball, he has to throw a strike, and you've got a power hitter in Tim Tuffle at the plate.
Buck Rogers on the left side of your screen. Next to him is Larry Bernard, the pitching coach of the Montreal Expos. Larry, a former pitcher for the New York Mets. And ball 4, and he walks in a run. So the Mets now lead by a score of 2-0, and 3 walks in the inning brings Larry Bernard out to the mound.
There's no other game ever invented that keeps people and the athletes that perform it more honest than baseball. Pattern changes from year to year. Buck Rogers' hair used to be dark.
Buck Rogers, a switch hitting catcher in his major league days. Manager of the year last year. 191 ball games. For Montreal finished third. And set a rookie record for American League players for games caught of 150. So the bases remain loaded, and the batter is Kevin Elster. The Mets leading 2-0. And Elster hits a little blooper back a second. Good play by Rivera, and they call the runner safe at second base, Howard Johnson, and then the tag is made. Does a run count? It does.
Well, I'll tell you what. Randy Marsh says the run counts, but because Darrell was watching the play, in my opinion, the run didn't count.
Randy Marsh, the home plate umpire, indicated that the runner got over the bag before the out was made at second. It was not a force play. It was a tag play at second.
This is an interesting play. Tuffle's got a slide right here. Why he didn't slide, I don't know. That's why he overruns the bag. Now watch him go past the bag, and he's tagged out. But in my opinion, from the naked eye, I didn't think Strawberry had touched home when the tag was made. We'll see.
So the Mets get another run, and in the inning they get 3 runs on 2 hits. And the score at the end of 1/2 inning, the Mets 3, the Expos coming up. Now here's a word from the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. Bob Ojeda in the mound for the New York Mets. And Bob coming into this ball game, making his first appearance of the season. Last year he was 3-5 with an earned run average of 3.88, walked 10, struck out 21, gave up 45 hits in 46 1/3 innings. Bob Ojeda.
The lineup: Timmy Raines leading it off, followed by Mitch Webster, who's 7 for his first 8. Hubie Brooks batting 3rd, and Tim Wallach hitting 4th. Andres Galarraga batting 5th. Mike Fitzgerald, the ex-Met, hitting 6th, followed by Rivera, Candel, and the pitcher Neil Heaton.
And Ojeda working to Tim Raines, and the first pitch, ball 1. Raines hitting .222 so far this year, 2 for 9. He has 1 run batted in. Batted .330 last year, 3rd in the National League. This ball hit right back to Ojeda. 1 away.
Boy, that was a great play right there. Fire that glove out, almost like a hockey goalie. Watch this play by Ojeda. That ball, especially on the rug, gets back there in a hurry, and Bobby made a fine play to rob Raines of a sure base hit.
And that brings up Mitch Webster, who, as Tim pointed out, has started out like a ball of fire. In the first pitch, it is called a strike by the first base umpire, as Dana DeMoose said he did swing. Here's the defense for the Mets. Hernandez, Tuffle, Elster, and Johnson in the infield, 1st to 3rd. Mazzilli, Wilson, and Strawberry in the outfield. And the catcher, Gary Carter. And that pitch for ball 1, 1 ball, 1 strike. Webster 7 for 8. He's had 6 straight base hits. And that pitch, a strike call. 7 for 8. But not even up to George Bell, who has started out in the American League 8 for 9 with 3 home runs, 2 base hits, and 5 runs batted in. There's one hit hard, and Tuffle makes a diving catch. So Webster out on a spectacular play, and that stops his hitting streak of 6 consecutive base hits.
Well, you saw the fine play by Ojeda, and now it's Tim Teufel's turn. Almost all right-handed throwers go better to their left because that's their glove hand. Good play by Teufel. Really a fine play.
Mets leading by a score of 3-0 as Teufel turns in the second out, and that brings up Hubie Brooks. Hubie hitting .333, he's 3 for 9. And the first pitch, a called strike. Hubie hit .263 last year with 14 home runs. Drove in 62. And the fastball, a good pitch, strike 2. Hubie Brooks, a former New York Met. And the changeup for a ball, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Ojeda throws a changeup a lot like a screwball. He says he doesn't try to make it turn down and away, but it does react that way. Fine record against Montreal last year, and there it is again. He gets his first strikeout in a 1-2-3 inning. The score at the end of 3, the Mets 3 and the Expos nothing. Now here's a word from the good old guys. Might have had more if Tim Teufel had slid into second base.
I think the reason that he didn't slide, he thought the ball was going to be in center field and was ready to make his turn. He could have been out at second base, but because he went in standing up, he overran the bag. Had that been a force play now, Strawberry obviously would not have counted his run. But because it was a tag play, it was up to the umpire's discretion as to whether Strawberry touched the plate before the tag was made. From the way I saw it, I didn't think he did. Darrell became a spectator and was watching the play.
But the home plate umpire, Randy Marsh, indicated he did, so the Mets got their 3rd run, and 8 men batted in the first. Here's the 9th man in the batting order, Bob Ojeda, with a 2-strike count. Neil Heaton on the mound, and Heaton misses with a fastball.
So Elster, you got to give Elster a hit and an RBI on that, don't you?
That is true. Mets 3 runs on 3 hits, and Elster gets the run batted in as Strawberry did cross home plate, as indicated by the home plate umpire, Randy Marsh. 2-2 the count. Ground ball up the middle and a base hit for Bob Ojeda. So the Mets pick up their 4th hit, and in the first 2 innings the leadoff batter has gotten on base. You're watching Mets Baseball 88 on WWOR TV, Secaucus, New Jersey.
Bobby's got to be proud of this. First at bat, first hit off a left-hander, no less.
So the Mets have a runner on with no one out, and Mookie Wilson batting for the 2nd time. Mookie led off with a triple his first time up and scored on Keith Hernandez's single up the middle. Mookie getting his first hit of the season, a 3-base hit. He leads the Mets in triples career-wise. No other Mets player has hit more triples than Mookie Wilson. Ground ball to the shortstop. It should be 2. And Mookie hits into an unusual double play. Rivera to Candel to Galarraga.
Unusual is so right because Mookie can and does scoot. He runs hard all the time, but it would take a sharply hit ball on the artificial surface to double up Mookie Wilson. All the elements were there.
Rivera taking over at shortstop, replacing Hubie Brooks, who's been moved to the outfield, and he is a fine fielding shortstop. 2 men away, no one on, and Lee Mazzilli the batter. Lee fouled out his first time up. And the fastball for ball 1. That's the recipient of 3 walks in the first inning, a rather unusual inning for Neil Heaton, who has only allowed 2 walks for 9 innings since coming to the National League. 1 ball, 1 strike. And this one popped up. Galarraga making the call and now making the catch. Just about a mix-up there. That ends the inning. 1 base hit, a double play, no one left. The score at the end of 1.5 innings. The Mets 3 and the Expos nothing. Now here's a word from Nissan. Ojeda set to go here in the bottom half of the second. The Mets leading by a score of 3-0. Ojeda retired his first 3 batters, striking out Hubie Brooks. The leadoff batter for Montreal will be Tim Wallach. And coming in for the play-by-play, Tim McCarver.
Tim to Tim and not Rock, neither one of us. As a matter of fact, I asked him before the game around the batting cage. He takes ball 1. I said, have you ever thought about changing your name? He said, nope. I said, neither have I. Tim Raines, to whom we are referring, has changed his name to Rock Raines. 2-0 to Wallach.
How about Dennis Rasmussen changing his name?
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, yeah, he changed his name from Dennis to Eric. He thought Eric sounded more like it should go.
Oh, no,
with
Harry.
Rasmussen.
Harry you're thinking of.
Is it Harry?
Harry, yeah. Okay. Little tapper to Elster. And we'll see if it's going to be a scored a base hit or an error. I remember Harry Rasmussen from San Diego went to the Cardinals.
Right.
Dennis now pitching for the Reds.
Tough chance for Elster, and the official scorer has scored it a base hit.
Tough chance in between hop. Wallach runs fair. Andres Galarraga off to a strong start. He's 4 for 7 with a couple of doubles. He had 40 last year. He has 2 this year. Changeup. Montreal Expos had a scare this winter while playing for the Caracas Venezuela Ball Club. Andres Galarraga had a fight with Juan Eichelberger in the Caribbean Series. Jammed a thumb. Good play by Carter, 1-1. And they thought it was more serious. They actually thought it was broken, but x-rays proved negative, and it was just jammed. So Andres ready for spring training. Fine-looking player, good defensive player. Runs better than average, hits for power, had 5 home runs this spring. Good fastball on the inside corner, 1-2 to Andres Galarraga.
He has hit some landmark home runs. When he gets it on the good part of the bat, he can hit it a long way.
Comes up empty on that changeup. Second strikeout for Ojeda, and the batter Mike Fitzgerald.
Both of the strikeouts have come on the changeup pitch of Bob Ojeda. Hubie Brooks the first, and now Galarraga the second.
Fitzgerald a pinch hitter in Monday's game. Game won by the Mets 10-6. Fastball is low. Since the trade, Mike Fitzgerald has hit best against San Francisco. His next best team against whom he has hit, the New York Mets. Batted .272 with 3 home runs. 2 years since his trade. Good change up on the corner. Ojeda has it geared up. It's 1-1 to Fitzgerald.
1986, he hit .524 against the Mets.
Sounds like a Long Island Railroad time. Change up is low, 2-1. Too gaudy to be a batting average, isn't it?
It wasn't a 5:24 train. It was a 7 o'clock train that got there at 5:24 the next day.
Outside and high, 3 balls and a strike to Fitzgerald.
He hit a grand slam home run against the Mets off Sid Fernandez last year on May the 17th. That was his first grand slam home run ever.
fouls it away. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Doubtful that Wallach will be going. Davy Johnson looking on. Mel Stottlemyre, who's done such a remarkable job with the pitching staff since joining as the pitching coach in 1984. He came to the Mets the same year that Davy Johnson took over as the manager. Wallach is running. Changeup is outside. So Buck Rogers playing an aggressive game, even though the Expos are down by 3. So the Expos with runners at first and second. And the batter, Luis Rivera.
Rivera's first major league base hit broke up a no-hit, no-run game being pitched by Bob Ojeda. It came in the 7th inning. Ojeda has never pitched a no-hitter.
I'll tell you, Luis Rivera represents a ball player, the type of ball player that's rare nowadays, Ralph, and I'll tell you why. He averaged 135 games a year played in 6 minor league seasons. And I'll tell you, in my opinion, you ought to look at that for a young ball player. You can't hurt him. He's durable, and durability is a very, very important factor. Got to have talent, obviously, but durability is very important. 0-1 to Rivera.
One of the things that you note when you see a stat like that is the fact that he has to have played some of those games hurt. Because
Exactly.
you cannot play a season without not having something wrong with you, and that means you want to play.
Had an idea about bunting, and home plate umpire Randy Marsh said he may have gone too far, or that the pitch was a strike. Nonetheless, it's 0-2 to Rivera.
Here it is again. Moves into bunting position, thinking about a bunt for a base hit. He takes the pitch, and it's in the strike zone.
No balls, 2 strikes, 3-0 New York. Bottom of the 2nd. Mets hit for Philadelphia after tonight's game to play Mike Schmidt and the Philadelphia Phillies, who were rained out against the Pirates today.
Schmidt with 532 career home runs, too short of being tied with Jimmy Fox, who had 534 and is 8th on the list.
Still 0-2 to Rivera. Then after a day game, a nationally televised game on Saturday, and a day game on Sunday, off day Monday, and the opener against the Expos on Tuesday afternoon, 1:35. That game is sold out, but still plenty of seats available for Thursday afternoon's game. Another foul tip, still 0-2. We'll be on the air tomorrow night, 7:30. And it will be Sid Fernandez against Bruce Ruffin. Again, 2 left-handers coming at you. There's Sid talking with Dwight Gooden. Gooden will be the pitcher on Sunday afternoon. Change up. He fights it off again.
The winning pitcher in the opening day game, although he won only 5 innings and gave up 11 hits, the most he's ever given up in a single game.
Carter wants to go away, and Ojeda wants to come inside. If ever in doubt, trained as a catcher to do what the pitcher wants you to do. If you want him to go outside and he wants to come inside, and you go ahead and throw the pitch, usually it's right down the heart of the plate.
Oh, he certainly knows what he wants to do. He is a very studious pitcher.
Oh, curveball right down the heart of the plate.
That's his first curveball, and it has a big break in it. And Rivera just had no chance at all.
So the curveball freezes Rivera. Third strikeout for Bobby Ojeda, and Casey Candel, the batter. Casey 1 for 5 in the short season. Outside, 1 ball. Revealing stat. 1-1 to Casey.
Good
Bobby,
utility player.
Bobby from Visalia, California. To Redwood High School. Still having something to say about wood, isn't he? Breaking it.
Breaking it down.
Curveball down. 2 balls and a strike.
Lifetime record of 65 wins, 49 losses. He's never defeated Montreal.
0-1 last year, 0-2 the year before. Carter had an idea about throwing to Hernandez. Good idea, but only one person was thinking about it, and that was Gary.
He might have lost a strike on that play.
Could have. You do that. Bouncing up and down.
Blocking out the umpire. That ball looked very close. Called a ball.
3 balls and a strike to Candel. 2 on, 2 out, 3-0 New York. Bottom of the second. High, ball 4. So the second walk in this inning and of the ball game. And the batter Neil Heaton, who led the Expos pitchers last year with 14 base hits.
Hershiser was the leading hitting pitcher in the National League last year with 19. Gooden also had 14 hits.
Situation here where Neil could certainly help himself. Anytime a pitcher, especially a starting pitcher, hits over 200, he's had a good year at the bat. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Mets with 3 first-inning runs. Curveball is high. 1 ball, no strikes to Neil Heaton.
Heaton got the fastball that time and was looking for it, and he had a pretty good swing at it.
Wallach at third base. Mike Fitzgerald, the ex-Met, at second, and over at first, Casey Candel. 1-1 to Heaton, 3-0 New York. Line base hit right center. 2 runs are going to score. And the 2 walks to load the bases, and Neil Heaton helps himself. 3-2 ball game, New York.
Well, there's no doubt about this base hit. He stays right with it and lines it over the head of Tuffle. Mookie over to cut it off, throws back into second to stop Heaton at first. And it's now a 1-run ball game as the Mets lead 3-2.
And not only does Heaton drive into, but now you have Tim Raines, the batter, who led the major leagues last year, hitting against left-handed pitching. Check this out. He batted .396 against left-handers last year. .396. And he made a hard out his first time up tonight. Low, ball 1. Check swing. Ojeda again, a 1-3. So after yielding the hit to Heaton, he gets the dangerous range, but the Expos, with 2 runs on 2 hits, they strand a couple. 3-2 New York. They disgruntled Ojeda to the bench, and we're back after this from Manufacturers Hanover. How a pitcher sits on the bench, whether he's happy or not.
There's no happiness there. He is hot.
His left leg out. He is hot. He is a tenacious competitor, one of those quiet, fiery competitors that keeps everything inside. And boy, I'll tell you, when he is upset, his eyes are very revealing. Here's Hernandez, who's singled in a run in the first. First RBI of the year for Keith, and he takes a fastball strike from Heaton. To Keith. I'll tell you, it's interesting to note there are 3 left-handed hitters hitting against the left-handed pitchers tonight. Hernandez, Ojeda, and Heaton, and all have base hits. So much for that lefty versus lefty stuff.
As you pointed out earlier, you can't figure this game out.
I'll tell you.
Just when you think you've got it all figured out, everything goes the other way.
2 balls and a strike to Keith Hernandez. 3-2 New York, top of the 3rd. Deep to center, but playable. Mitch Webster makes the catch, and with 1 out, Darryl Strawberry the batter.
I'd like to pass on a happy birthday to bullpen catcher Rob Dromerhauser, who's 25 years of age today. Bullpen catcher for the New York Mets. Also, Phil Stoneman of the Montreal Expos is 44 today.
My old bridge partner.
Pretty good pitcher.
General manager, 2 no-hitters, one of which was thrown against the Mets. I was the catcher.
You call them all, huh?
No, I didn't call them all. No, I was just the catcher, and I was proud of that. Lined sharply, Candell playing in shallow right. Throws out Strawberry. 2 out, Carter up. I have a tray at home, and it's engraved with Bill Stoneman's no-no. That's what it says. No-no. And it was a gift certificate given to me by the Montreal Expos, which I thought was really nice.
How many no-hitters did you catch?
2. Rick Wise and Bill Stoneman. And the Wise no-hitter was a Wise no-hitter.
2 home runs?
2 home runs in that game. Drove in 4 runs and won 4-0. Pete Rose made the last out on a line drive to John Vukovich back in 1971 at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. 2-0 to Carter. How about that for a day, though? You pitch a no-hitter and hit 2 2-run homers. Pretty good career on one night. One catcher, I think, Ray Shaw caught 4 no-hitters?
I think Gus Triando's caught 3, I know of.
Alan Ashby has caught 3. Caught Mike Scott no-hitter. The one to clinch the Western Division back in 1986. 3-1 to Carter. Up and out of play, 3-2. As a catcher, you get such an aesthetic thrill out of catching a no-hitter. You don't feel like you had anything to do with it. I mean, the pitcher's on. You got to be a little lucky. A lot of hard balls got to be hit right at people, and no blue pits or anything like that. But you do, it's really thrilling. It's not the same feeling the pitcher has, but it's thrilling nonetheless. Well hit deep to left field. Gary Carter has his first home run of the year. 4-2 New York.
Well, they had put the shift on against Gary Carter, moving the second baseman over on the shortstop side, but they didn't put the outfielders high enough. Carter gets his first home run. That's a landmarker right there. He got all of this one. Pitches up, and it's a fastball. And there was no doubt about it. Last year, Carter had only 1 home run against Montreal. Now he has one right here.
Strike to Johnson. Hojo walked his first at bat. They didn't have that shift high enough.
That's right.
Either that or hire some taller players. To get that one, you'd need a ticket and a glove. 1-1 to Johnson. Speaking of home runs, he led all hitters in the National League last year with home runs on the road. 23 of his 36 home runs were hit on the road. Strike on the corner, 1-2.
And he holds the National League record for home runs by a switch hitter. Howard had 36, breaking a record that once was held by Rip Collins. Of course, the Major League record is 54, Mickey Mantle. Home runs by a switch hitter.
2-2 to Howard Johnson. Gets away from him. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, the Mets get the insurance run as Carter hits it out of the ballpark. Bob Ojeda taking a little bit of a sneak look there, but there was no doubt about that ball being out. He didn't have to look.
What an ebullient reaction by Ojeda.
Well, as you said, he's probably still mad.
This one drilled the left, Rains over, and he makes a brilliant play to rob Howard Johnson of extra bases. I mean, a tracer to left field. Snared by Rains. 4-2 New York after 2.5. We're back after this from Tri-State Honda. All right, Ralphie, and Mitch Webster leads it off here in the bottom of the 3rd. 4-2. New York on top. This one fouled out of play. 0-1. Boy, that was a terrific play that Tim Raines made on Howard Johnson to end the 3rd inning.
Great catch out there, and this is how it looked as you take a look at it on the replay. Raines coming over, and this ball hit on the line. This is a clothesliner all the way, and he takes it right off the top of the AstroTurf. Wow. And catches it before it hits the ground. What a play.
In the olden days, Ralph, that ball wouldn't have been caught. Mitch Webster again going for 2. The throw out at second base. Lee Mazzilli 2 steps to his right, and he robs Webster of a double with the fine throw. 1 out. What's happening here?
Well, Lee going over there and coming up with an accurate throw in the second. Webster, even though the team is trailing by 2, trying to make a double out of it. And the tag is made by Tuffle, and the call is made by second base umpire Harry Wendelstadt.
So 2 good consecutive plays by left fielders.
Tim, on those no-hitters caught by catchers, Ray Schock caught 4 of them. Jeff Torborg caught 3 of them, and Triandos had 1 in each leg. Catching Wilhelm's no-hitter against the Yankees and Bunning's no-hitter against the Mets. And Torborg with 3, second to Ray Schock.
Well, Ashby has 3 also. When he caught Mike Scott, he's caught Nolan Rhines. And I believe he caught Ken Forsches. But I'm not sure about that. 2 outs as Brooks grounds out. The batter, Tim Wallach. Strike 1. You can talk about the home runs and all the offense in baseball, but defense is almost like the police department in baseball. It maintains order. 0-1 to Wallach. Fine defense in this ball game so far, and we're only in the 3rd. Outside, 1-1.
It's law and order, right?
Speaking of Vance Law, I saw him this afternoon. The Cubs are in town. Andre Dawson having an off day here. Good curve ball, 1-2. Don Zimmer and his outfit will play the Expos over the weekend as the Mets travel to Philadelphia. Change up, lifted right side. Hernandez back, Tuffle with the better angle, and he makes the play. No runs, a hit, and none left. After 3 innings of play, it's 4-2 New York, and we're back after this from Busch Beer. Left unsaid. Two sparkling plays by 2 left fielders, and here's Steve Zabriskie.
Thanks a lot, Timmy. There's Lee Mazzilli playing for the injured Kevin McReynolds, who has suffered a twisted right knee, not believed to be serious, as Tim Tuffle pops up the first pitch down the right field line. Galarraga called off by Candell. And Casey makes the play very similarly to the one made by Tuffle just an hour ago. Well, this game is being brought to you in part this evening by your Lincoln Mercury dealers. 4-2 New York leading with 1 out in the top of the 4th inning. And here's Kevin Elster, who had an infield base hit and an RBI in the first inning when the Mets scored 3. On Monday it was the bats. Tonight it's been the leather. 4 or 5 outstanding defensive plays turned in. Fastball high and away. 2-0. Off the end of the bat, foul, and the count 2-1. Neil Heaton, who batted .209 last year, his first year swinging the bat in the big leagues, off with a good start with that 2-run single this season. Neil may become one of the better hitting pitchers in the National League. On the corner, says Randy Marsh, and count 2-2 to Elster.
He worked on his hitting this spring. I remember reading several things about Neil going to the batting cage. Sure enough, it's paid off for him. And I think all pitchers ought to take that approach.
Well, unfortunately, and we've talked about it before, pitchers in batting practice during the season, and they only really hit at home. They don't hit on the road. Play a home run. And don't really practice batting as they should. This ball's lifted over into left center field. Mitch Webster doesn't have to go far to get it, and he has it for out number 2.
Coupled with the fact, Steve, that pitchers have notoriously been known as bad hitters throughout the history of baseball, and it's almost a running joke that it's fashionable not to be a good hitter. I've seen even pitchers laugh about the fact that they're not good hitters. And I think that tradition ought to change if they want to help themselves, especially in the National League, because they swing the bats over here.
I agree. And speaking of hitting pitchers, Bob Ojeda had a base hit to center field leading off the 2nd inning. When you think back to pitchers, by and large, when they were playing ball in school, all the way from Little League through high school, and sometimes even into college, but not ordinarily, but at least through high school, most of them were some of the better hitters on their teams.
In a lot of cases, sure.
They were the better athletes, and more often than not, they were good hitters in high school. Then they go into the minors, and this is one reason I don't like the DH, because the minor leagues employ that, and right after a guy signs professionally as a pitcher, he stops hitting, basically. So by the time he does get to the big leagues, even if he's in the National League, he hasn't hit that much for quite a few years. And Ojeda with a pitcher's swing there, and Neil Heaton with a 1-2-3 inning in the fourth. In the middle of the fourth, it's still 4-2 New York, and we're back after this for your Lincoln Mercury dealer.
Cesar Romero.
Cesar Romero and
All sorts of things happening here at Olympic Stadium. They love that guy for some reason. That's UB. Well, National League scores. Lots of things happened today in Cincinnati. Danny Jackson, his first start as a National Leaguer. Speaking of pitchers hitting, he drove in 2 runs with a sacrifice fly and a base hit, pitched a 3-hitter. Eric Davis and Bob Horner had home runs, and Chris Sabo, the rookie third baseman for the Cincinnati Reds, tied a major league record with 11 assists. Pittsburgh at Philadelphia postponed. 1-0 Atlanta over Los Angeles. Bottom of the third. San Diego at San Francisco later on. That's how some people say it. Down in Memphis, San Francisco. Going to San Francisco.
And we will next month. We knew what you meant. Andres Galarraga leads off the fourth for Montreal and takes a ball high. He struck out in the second inning. 4-2 New York. Off Ojeda's glove. Tuffle behind the bag. In time. First base. Very close play, but good hustle and adjustment by Tim Tuffle.
It really was. And we are seeing a sparkling defensive ball game. Ball off the glove of Bobby Ojeda, so give Ojeda an assist. Wow. A shoelace. The islet. Really close.
That's as bang bang as it can be. Time has been called, and Ojeda apparently broke the webbing or the stitching around the webbing of his glove, reaching for that ball. So time has been called as they'll bring something out for him.
And with timeout, let's take a look at the American League. 11-6 Detroit over Boston. Frank Tanana winning. Noakes with 5 RBIs and 2 home runs. So Matt Noakes now with 3 home runs for the Tigers. He had 32 last year. Chicago over California. Dave LaPointe winning his first game. He beat Chuck Finley of the Angels. Minnesota at New York postponed. Milwaukee at Baltimore. So Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York games have been postponed. The Eastern Corridor obviously flooded, and that's where we're going this evening after the game. So we hope it clears up. And not to our waist. Toronto at Kansas City and Cleveland and Texas later.
You have to drive to the house after we get it.
Yeah.
There's what happened to Ojeda's glove as the webbing was just torn right out. So it didn't actually go off his glove, it went through his glove.
Ball was smoked.
Charlie Samuels brought him a new one. Steve Garland's going to work on it.
Tell you, if you're a trainer nowadays, you really have to be a leather smith. Look at it, went right through it. Thought it went off his glove. It just went right through it. Galarraga's got to be happy even though he made an out. Strong enough to hit balls through gloves.
It would have, if Ojeda's glove hadn't broken, it'd been another outstanding play by him.
Yeah.
Mike Fitzgerald walked and scored in the second. The changeup over the outside part of the plate for strike one makes it 1-1. Sporting a enlarged mustache this year. Fastball inside. 2-1. Steve Garland hard at work on Ojeda's leather.
And you see Lenny Dykstra talking to Ralph before the ball game, talking about how disenchanted he was about not playing. He'd really like to see that, but that's really a tough situation. Lenny Dykstra and Mookie Wilson. Lenny batted .203 against lefties last year, .303 against right-handers.
And part of Lenny's argument, the count 2-2 now to Fitzgerald. Curveball fouled off. Part of Lenny's argument is that how am I going to improve if I don't face left-handers with any regularity? he has the kind of confidence that tells him and allows him to tell everybody else that he will hit left-handers if you give him the chance.
You know, Steve, it's almost one of those situations where everything both players say are understandable.
That's right.
I mean, everything Mookie said. Mookie could start on 15 to 20 major league teams. Lenny could start and be a regular center fielder. However, now a key thing, what if something happens to Kevin McReynolds' knee that's worse than thought? Well, then Mookie becomes a regular left fielder, and Lenny becomes the regular center fielder.
And that's the scenario the Mets would like to maintain.
And that's why they haven't traded Mookie Wilson.
Fastball high and a 3-2 count to Mike Fitzgerald. There's Kevin and Lenny right next to him. Kevin sitting out with that twisted right knee. He is available to pinch hit if necessary. Fastball grounded right to Kevin Elster. And he pulls Hernandez off the bag, and it's going to be a throwing error on Elster as Fitzgerald will be safe at first with 1 out.
Kevin with a little bit of a trouble getting it out of his glove. And he pulls Hernandez off the bag. Keith trying to dive back with his left hand. Too late. So an error on Kevin Elster.
Sticking that bare hand in there when there's a foot with some spikes on it is not always a good idea. That is the second error the Mets have committed as a team this season in their first 3 games. And here's Luis Rivera, who struck out looking on a curveball from Ojeda in the 2nd inning. Grounded, fair ball right over the third base bag. Fitzgerald headed for third, Rivera headed for second. Fitzgerald being waved in as Mazzilli had to play the carom, and Fitzgerald will score, and it's a 1-run ball game as New York now leads 4-3. The RBI double by Luis Rivera.
Well, Rivera really tattooing this ball just inside the line. Now it lands foul, but it's where it goes over the bag. Mazzilli has nothing to do but wait for the ball and wait for the carom. Fitzgerald hustling around to score. So costly error by Elster.
So the new shortstop for the Expos beginning to pay some dividends with the bat as well as in the field. And here's Casey Candell, who walked his first time up in the 2nd inning. Swing and a miss at the changeup for strike 1.
Tell you, Steve, you can always, if you're at a ballpark and a player makes a costly error and the next player gets a hit, as in this case, you just watch the player who made that error, and boy, for most guys, you see either the look in the air or the head dropping. It's very, very discouraging as you have possibly opened up the way for some unearned runs.
First thing that was probably said by or to Kevin Elster was, let's just get 2 now, and the possibility of that erased by the double. Line drive over the head of Tubble, a base hit, cut off by Wilson, but here comes Rivera, and he will score, and it's tied at 4.
Piece of hitting by Candell, and Mookie does it's good base running by Rivera. He really had to hold up to see if the ball was going to be caught, and then he really kind of put it in the 2nd gear and scored easily.
And Casey Candell just put an exclamation point on your point about the error starting an inning. Here's Neil Heaton, who drove in 2 runs with a single to right center in the 2nd. 4-4 with 1 out in the 4th.
I would imagine Neil's bunting here.
Hernandez breaking and then coming back to the bag, but unable to get Candell. Each team with 4 runs on 5 hits, but the Mets have the 1 error that has started things off for Montreal here in the bottom of the 4th. Pops it up foul back into the screen. And strike. thing about the Expos last year, and they've certainly demonstrated that here, they don't lay down. They keep coming back. And they had a lot of late inning and extra inning victories when they were behind. Tied up games, descended into extra innings. They just keep pecking away.
They led the majors in one-run ball games. They won 28 of 42 last year.
Heaton with a hard bunt. Hernandez will go to second in the dirt, but pulled out by Elster, who throws to Tuffle, but it's too late at first. Good play by Kevin Elster with the runner bearing down on him to pick that ball cleanly out of the dirt.
And a good play by Keith, but not a good throw. And I'll tell you the reason he threw that ball was because if the throw is good but late, Elster can still get Heaton at first base. That's a Ron Fairley play. Ron is now an announcer with the San Francisco Giants and influenced Hernandez a great deal when Ron and Keith were teammates with the Cardinals back in the middle 70s. And he's responsible, Keith will tell you that, as the guy who told him how to charge a bunt.
And he does it better than anybody in the game right now, that's for sure. Raines is 0 for 2. And an off-speed pitch is outside and low ball 1. Raines retired in the first inning when Ojeda made a fine grab of a comebacker. And then in the second inning, Raines with a check swing tapper back to the mound. And again, it's outside, 2-0. Mets led 3-0, then 3-2, then 4-2, and it's now 4-4. Runner goes and Raines drives it to center field. Wilson right there, however, to pick it off, and the inning is over. But Montreal ties the game with 2 runs on 2 hits and the help of 1 error. And at the end of 4, it's 4-4, and we're back after this for McDonald's. Turned over to assistant trainer Bob Sykes, who is now restringing Bob Ojeda's glove. Charlie Samuels brought out the new glove, but you notice Charlie hasn't touched the one that was broken.
That's a trainer's version of pulling the string.
Which is something Bob Ojeda does quite nicely while wearing that glove. Thank you very much. 5th inning of a 4-4 tie here in Montreal. And the top of the order for New York and Mookie Wilson, who tripled and scored his first at bat and grounded into a double play in the second inning. And low ball 1. Mookie running from the right side. And that's about one of the few times you'll have the chance to double him up. High ball 2. Fastball foul back in the count 2-1.
You know, Neal was the first-round draft choice of the Mets in 1979. Didn't sign with him. Went to Miami to play for Ron Frazier's Miami Hurricanes. Boy, what a program they have down there. Ron, a great guy. I think he's won over 1,000 games as a college coach. He did it last year.
Recently, yeah. Just the end of last season, won over 1,000. There's ball 4 to Mookie. So the leadoff batter on here in the 5th inning for New York, and the 4th walk issued by Neil Heaton will bring up Lee Mazzilli, who has popped up twice. Maz getting a start in left field with Kevin McReynolds having twisted that right knee on the play at second base in last night's game. Field a pretty good team with some of the guys that the Mets originally signed and they chose not to sign. I mean, drafted and they chose not to sign. Cal Daniels of Cincinnati, one of them.
Gosh, what a hitter he's going to be. I mean, he's just coming into his own. Yep. 25, had 3 hits today.
Off to a blazing start. In the dirt. Ball 1 to Maz. Mazzilli stepping out to take a long look at Sam Perlazzo, the third base coach. corner, says Randy Marsh. Mazzilli not enthralled with the call. 1-1. You're watching Sam Perlazzo, and you're also watching Mets Baseball 88 on WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. Quick throw to first as Heaton stepped off. Wilson not running, and Mazzilli grounds one to third. Wallach will have to go to first, and it's just in time to get Mazzilli.
Boy, that was a tough play for Wallach. There are just a lot of plays because of the top spin on the ball that guys have to deal with. See that little tricky hop? The reason it's a tough play is Wallach, because he caught the ball on his back foot, has to throw it off his back foot. Watch. See, no crow hop. It takes an awfully strong arm, and usually third basemen have it. And especially on the rug, you have to play deeper. That was a tricky hop and a fine play by Wallach.
Even with all the offense he generated last year, he's also becoming one of the best defensive third basemen.
Won the Gold Glove 2 years ago.
Here's Keith Hernandez with Mookie now at second and 1 out. Keith is 1 for 2, and Heaton and Fitzgerald will have a little conference. Tim Burke of the Montreal bullpen wanted to wish a happy birthday to his sister Terry, who was watching the game in San Diego, California tonight. And don't worry, Terry, he didn't tell us how old you are. So happy birthday to Terry Burke.
Why not?
Fastball high to Hernandez.
That's another myth. Myth Burke in this case.
Myth Burke.
Yeah.
Action in the bullpen. Speaking of the Expos bullpen, Andy McGathigan up and throwing. And that's no mystery. On the corner. 1-1. Just following your lead, partner. You punster, you. Keith is 2 for 10 this young season. He picked up his first RBI in the first inning. Line drive, base hit up the middle. Here comes Mookie around third. Webster charging, and the throw offline. Now Hernandez going to second, and he's in there. Good base running by Keith Hernandez.
Yes, sir.
As he rounded first with a wide turn to be sure that the ball was not cut off, and the Mets take the lead 5-4 on Hernandez's second RBI of the game.
And you see this as much as anything. Advanced runners. It's tough enough to advance runner, but you don't want your defense to do it. And that's what Webster did. You're not going to get Wilson. And coupled with that, you make the high throw. You don't allow your first baseman, Galarraga, to cut it off, and Hernandez takes the extra base. See how high that is? Wilson scoring. You got to know the elements, and that's a bad play by Webster.
And a good play by Hernandez to take advantage. So Mookie puts the Mets ahead, along with the help of Hernandez, 5-4. Keith at second, still only 1 out, and the batter Darryl Strawberry, who has walked and scored and hit a rocket to Candel at second, grounding out 4-3 in the third. I guess if we have Doc Gooden, are we eventually going to have Straw or some nickname for Darryl? D. Strawberry?
Of course, his nickname is Straw.
Fitzgerald,
right?
Yes, that's true. Fitzgerald got crossed up on that pitch, almost let it get away, and now have to talk to Heaton to be sure they're squared away here. The runner at second, a sequence of signs being used, and somebody not sure. Don't you love those conferences at the mound?
Mike leads the league in conferences to the mound. There's a path out there.
Blown away to Strawberry. Ball 2.
This is one of those unusual situations where a left-hander to a left-hander really doesn't want to give in. His manager doesn't want him to, but if he walks Strawberry, he's out of there, and the right-hander's in there to pitch to Carter.
Fastball high and deep to left center field. Webster going back, and it is gone. Another home run and another Titanic home run for Darryl Strawberry. Mets lead 7-4.
Oh, my goodness, was that awesome. He has hit threes. I'm telling you, mere mortals would have to hit balls like 3 times to get it that far. The one the other night, they said, they being a crew from McGill University, said it was 525 feet. Folks, that is just awesome strength. He just powered, muscled the ball out of here, and it clears the fence by like 30 feet. See, Darryl's never going to be a pull hitter because he wraps the bat. He's got so far to come with that bat, and that's why he hits a lot of the balls back in the strike zone. But it just doesn't matter. He could small up any ballpark in the major leagues. Awesome. Awesome.
Well, we'll contemplate that while Andy McGaffigan comes into the game, and Neil Heaton, chased by that monstrous home run, will return to the Big O with the Mets now up by 3 after this for Meineke Muffler.
Run worth another look. Look at the bat curl. Look at that now. He's got to come all the way around. He just overpowers the ball. Boy, what a swing. My goodness. Andy McGaffigan in one ball game, and he's spelling Neil Heaton.
And Gary Carter hits the first pitch deep to left, and this one is gone. Carter's second home run of the ball game, and the Mets third, and they now lead 8-4. Carter, who ordinarily does not hit well in this ballpark since leaving here, with 2 home runs, having by far his best day as a Met at the Big O so far. And here's Howard Johnson. Takes high and away, ball 1. Mets now have 9 home runs in their first 2.5 ball games.
They have not been cheap. None of them. No.
Breaking ball on the inside corner. 1-1. Hojo batting left-handed for the first time tonight. And Gary back to the other business at hand. He has crushed 2. Strawberries was out there to the opposite field just as far. Ripped foul. The ball girl wisely getting out of the way. 1-2 to Johnson. Mets now with 8 runs on 8 hits. After Montreal tied it in the bottom of the 4th, the Mets have scored 4 here in the top of the 5th. Take a 4-run lead. Johnson waving at a breaking ball way outside. And McGaffigan strikes him out for the second out here in the 5th inning.
Howard Johnson knows certainly that the Expos are going to throw him off-speed stuff. That is all that they have featured against Hojo. It's because he is exclusively a fastball hitter.
Tim Tuffle walked to drive in a run with the bases loaded. Did he hold up? No, says Randy Marsh. Strike 1. Tuffle walking to get that RBI, his first of the year in the 1st inning, and then he popped up to Casey Candell down the right field line in the 4th. missed. Actually tipped for strike 2. 0-2. Jay Horwitz informs us that for Gary Carter, his 28th career multiple home run game. And as you see, number 293. Low and away with a breaking ball, 1-2.
Gary is so determined this spring. He came to spring training, to the camp, about 12 pounds lighter, bulk in the upper part of his body, and he's strong to begin with.
Tuffle reaches out and punches it to third. Wallach up with it and throws him out to end the inning. But the Mets, with a pair of big home runs, a walk and another hit, put 4 on the board here in the top of the 5th inning to lead Montreal 8-4 after 4.5. Now here's a word from Bush Beer. The year last season, Bob "Buck" Rogers looking on and watching the Mets unleash some of the power that they displayed on opening day Monday. And after being nearly shut out for 8 2/3 last night, the Mets are back. And also back, Tim McCarver.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. And the changeup from Bobby Ojeda is high from Mitch Webster. And coming into tonight's game, I guess you could say it was 7-11 for Webster. He was 7 for 8. And last year, he had 11 hits against the Mets. And he had 11 hits this spring. This is a different year. He had to get a hit his last time up to mess up a good story. It's now 8-11. New point.
Yeah, well, he's happy it's 8 rather than 7.
Another base hit for Webster. His 9th hit of the series. And again, he had only 11 all year against New York in 1987.
I was talking to Mitch before the game about the difference this year and the difference really between spring training and the beginning of the season. He hits this ball off the end of the bat a little bit, but he's out there enough to put some oomph behind it and drive it through the hole into left field. And he said he'd gone back to his 85 style.
And he's running here out at second base. So Webster on a poor play. It is really, now I think he was safe too. Harry Wendelstedt calling him out. But still, you have got to be sure when you're 4 runs down with the meat of the order coming up.
Well, he thought he might catch him napping, but Ojeda threw a fastball to Hubie Brooks, which probably wasn't expected either. And Webster appeared to be in there with that straight-in slide. And Tuffle making the tag high up on the thigh, almost on the hip. But he gets the call from Harry Wendelstedt.
Hubie Brooks, a dunker into left center. And when you're 4 runs down, you have to play a passive type of offense, hoping to bunch runs. So Webster being caught trying to steal second. A poor base running play as Brooks singles.
You'll be one of the best at being fooled and still getting a base hit because he's able to keep those hands back. And he just has such great wrists that he's able to throw the bat head through the ball even when his derriere is headed in the opposite direction. And that's exactly what he did there.
Swing and a miss. 0-1 to Wallach. Brooks and Keith messing around. A little push and shove at first. Good curveball, 0-2. It's interesting your comments about Webster. I wasn't there when you were talking to Mitch, but not too many hitters can explain success, but they can tell you all sorts of things about failure.
It's true.
It's almost like life, too, unfortunately. A little tap or foul. Successful people have a very difficult time explaining how they were successful. But people who fail can tell you exactly how they failed and how they did it, when they did it, almost to the minute.
Sure, and give you 4 or 5 good reasons
Sure,
why.
exactly.
Well, one thing about athletes in particular, those especially blessed with great natural ability, is they are often unaware of how they do what they do. They don't analyze it.
The mind's a great thing if you don't use it. It's 1-2 to the Wallach.
Sounds like something Yogi would say, but I like it.
Kidding, of course, but obviously thinking can get you into trouble. And a lot of things. Popped up infield. Make that shallow center. Wilson in. 2 outs.
Well, it's just like one of your, and really mine too, more favorite expressions. If you think long, you think wrong.
Yep. Jim Cott's the first one. Jim, now an announcer with the Minnesota Twins. He's the first one that I heard use that expression. And you can, you know, in golf, they say paralysis through analysis. You analyze yourself, and I know from a former player's standpoint, sometimes you go up there, you're in a slump, you're thinking about everything but swinging the bat. Swing and a miss by Galarraga, 0-1. You've got your shoulder in, your hands are back, your head's steady, still. You do everything right, but you don't swing the bat. Sometimes it's good to get back to the basics and say, just hit what you see. Go back to the natural ability that God gave you. 0-2 to Galarraga.
Well, Hita really has that dead fish working on the outside part of the plate to the right-handers in this inning. Brooks got a base hit on it only because he was able to reach out and punch it.
Another changeup, but this one fouled off. Still 0-2 to Andy. It's 8-4 New York. A barrage in the 5th to break a 4-4 tie.
For as much as Bob Ojeda claims he does not turn that ball over, I don't know how you possibly get a ball to break like that without doing it. It certainly does break down and away from right-handers.
Change up, grounded to short. No, Johnson out at second base. Boy, I'll tell you, we have seen some great defensive plays. No runs, 2 hits, 1 left after 5. 8-4 New York. And we're back after this from the good olds guys. Howard Johnson with the 31st flavor on how to throw a baseball.
Well, he did all he could do. First, he got to it. Then he flipped it immediately backhand, and a good stretch by Tuffle to get the out at second.
Kevin Elster, the batter, facing Andy McGaffigan. Strike one, 0-1 to Kevin. He's 1 for 2 with an RBI. Strike 2. It's 8-4 New York. The Mets with 3 in the first, 1 in the third, and exploding for 4 in the 5th. The Expos with 2 runs in the second and 2 unearned runs in the 4th inning. And Elster goes down. A good slider by McGaffigan. His second strikeout, and the batter Bob Ojeda.
Kevin with a little bit of a tentative swing, fooled by the pitch, exasperated.
Ojeda 1 for 2. He is singled and struck out. Strike 1. Ball outside, 1-1 to Bobby Ojeda. Mets travel once again to Philadelphia after the game. We'll be on the air at 7:30 tomorrow night. Sid Fernandez against Bruce Ruffin. Get your popcorn ready. 2-1 to Ojeda. Line drive, base hit, left field. So Ojeda has 2 hits. And he's at first, and the batter Mookie Wilson. Also, fans, that Tuesday afternoon's game is sold out, and for those of you fans who do have tickets, please take mass transportation to the ballpark. But there are still plenty of seats available for opening day 2. That's on Thursday. 1:35 game time. Get away from the masters of the universe, those guys down on Wall Street, the Dow Jones average, and come on out and have fun at the ballpark.
Fun to play hooker.
Yeah. Mookie has scored 2 runs. He tripled and scored a run in the first on a single by Hernandez. He walked and scored A run in the 5th on the single by Hernandez.
Pretty well hit, left field. Back is Tim Raines, and it's a foul ball.
Boy, that more than the home runs is indicative of how the ball is jumping in this park.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about the ventilation system here. This park is not air conditioned as are other dome stadiums, but they do have a ventilation system. I cannot believe that the vents, as far away from the playing field as they are, have any effect on the baseball when it's in the air. I think the big difference here in the way the ball's carrying this year over last year is that they heated this ballpark over the winter, and the concrete and steel in here is not cold and dank, and the air is much warmer than it's ever been in this ballpark, even last year with the roof on the first time. And the ball's going to carry more when it's warmer.
Ground ball, fouled, 1-2. Yeah, because last year Montreal was 9th in the National League in home runs yielded. So evidently the heater wasn't on. There have been some heaters leave this ballpark in these 3 days.
Now see, there's the flag. The flag's hanging up out over center field, and if there was much air movement from the ventilation system, you'd think those flags out there would be moving around more than they are.
Still 1-2 to Mookie.
And the Astrodome has air conditioning, a ventilation system. And nobody's ever said that it has any effect on the ball carrying in that park.
Maybe it's because it's hot outside, whereas up here it's cold outside.
I think no. But I think temperature has more to do with it than wind.
Because of the air conditioning in the Astrodome.
Right. It's cooler. I just said how warm it is in here, and Ojita's got his jacket on.
It's a new year. I'm not going to talk about it. I've tried. I've already given. Little dunker to right field, and Brooks is there. 2 outs. And the batter Lee Mazzilli batting left-handed for the first time tonight. Well, we've seen 2 things. Scientifically, heat rises, we know that, but so do baseballs. The Mets with 3 home runs tonight, a titanic shot once again by Darryl Strawberry, and 2 home runs by Gary Carter. It's 8-4, 2 out, 1 on. We're in the 6th inning. Strike on the corner, 0-1.
Man's still looking for his first hit in '88. He was 0 for 1 coming into the game, and he's 0 for 3 tonight.
Has shoved back, 1-1.
See how Mazzilli hangs over the plate. Hitters who do that often get pitches like that one.
Ball 2. Down State Street or St. Catherine up here. 2-2.
I guess if we were in Philadelphia, it'd be Broad Street.
Broadway in New York. Lindell in St. Louis. Figueroa in L.A. Foul tip, 3rd strikeout from McGaffigan. No runs, a hit, 1 left after 5.5. 8-4 New York, and we're back after this from Nissan.
Shut out the Mets. 8 2/3 inning, gave up just
one run. And before the game tonight, I asked him who he thought the best team in baseball was.
For me, the Mex is for me the baseball, the best team in baseball now. You have everything, good pitching, running, power, you know. You got everything, you know. They give me a lot of headache the night before I pitch. After I see all the home run, you know, I can't sleep in the nighttime.
So Pascal having a tough time sleeping at night.
He didn't have a tough time pitching the next day, though.
He certainly didn't pitch last night. He threw 67 sliders out of 126 pitches last night. 2-0 to Mike Fitzgerald. Ojeda still out there. He's given up 7 hits and 4 runs. One of which was unearned. I said 2 earlier. I aired 2 and 1.
That's how you get an unearned run.
Right. Error. Right, an error. Outside, 3 and 1. After Strawberry hit that home run, I love to see it when he rounds third and Sam Perlazzo gives him the low 5, and I mean very low. Darrell's back's in jeopardy going down that low. I'm going to tell you about a new thing in baseball, however. Here's a strike, 3 and 2. In Oakland now, early in the season, you heard it here, folks, they are resorting to elbow bashing. I wouldn't want to bash elbows with Strawberry either. Fastball high, so Ojeda loses Fitzgerald. But can you imagine that team with Dave Parker, Mark McGuire, Jose Canseco, all those monsters bashing elbows? They're going to kill each other. Elbow bashing. That's the new form of handshake in Oakland.
If 2 of them are on base and the third one hits a home run, there could be some Richter scale registering and also some trips to the trainer's room after the game.
A hockey check.
Rivera, he pops it up. Wilson in. 1 out. The batter, Casey Candell. Jeff Parrott now warming. Parrott the pitcher when Strawberry hit that Titanic home run Monday afternoon. Speaking of elbows, Bobby Ojeda wouldn't want anybody bashing that elbow after last year. Casey Candell, the hitter. Strike 1.
The amazing thing about Ojeda's elbow operation, and of course last year he only pitched 46 1/3 innings. He says that his elbow feels better now than it ever did his whole life. Even in high school, he pitched with pain.
Ground ball, good play. Johnson got him at first. My goodness, we have seen some displays of defense that you don't see. You can sometimes go 2 weeks and not see this many good plays.
That is the 6th outstanding play that the Mets defense has turned in tonight. Montreal has made 1 for a total of 7 in the game. Johnson well into foul territory with that strong arm, and Hernandez right there with a sure 2-handed grab before it goes in the dirt. And this against a guy who can run well in Casey Candell.
Ojo's second fine play. He ended the 5th inning and a sparkling backhand toss to Tuffle on the ball hit by Galarraga. Dave Engel will now be the pinch hitter, formerly with the Minnesota Twins, and he was with the Expos last year. Change up on the corner and a beauty.
So McGaffigan works an inning and 2/3, charged with a run on 2 hits. He struck out 3 and did not walk a batter, and he gave up a home run, greeted by Gary Carter, his first hitter.
Cued back right below us. So Ojeda ahead of Dave Engel. David Cohn now up and throwing for New York. David was in Monday's game and worked 2 1/3.
ball is low. This is Ingles' second at bat this year. His first at bat last year, very memorable, on April 20th. His first at bat as a pinch hitter. He had a home run, his only home run of the year. Got him with the breaking ball. So Ojeda retires Engel. That's strikeout number 4 for Bob. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 left after 6. Ralph will join Steve after this word from Michelob.
Jeff Parrott has worked only 2/3 of an inning so far this year and yielded just 1 hit, but it was a home run. He also walked a batter, and his ERA is a rather bloated 13.5 to this point. But he will be the 3rd pitcher for Montreal tonight as we go to the 7th inning. And back in once again, here's Ralph Kiner.
Okay, Steve, and Parrott with a record of 0-0 as you see there. Parrott last year 7-6 with 6 saves for Montreal in 45 ball games, all in relief.
And there, of course, are some of your passes. I have a feeling there will be quite a few Mets fans in Philadelphia for this upcoming weekend series.
There are quite a few right here in Montreal.
That's because all the Montreal fans are over at the Forum for the Stanley Cup playoff game.
Parrott, born in Indianapolis, lives in Lexington, Kentucky. Drafted by the Expos back in 1982. Didn't sign with the Expos. Was a 9th round selection by Milwaukee in 1983 and acquired by the Expos in 1985. And his first batter will be Keith Hernandez. Keith with 2 RBIs, both on singles in this game. 2 for 3. Mets leading by a score of 8-4. And they have had 3 home runs in this game, and the fastball for ball 1. Parrott one time last year had a streak of 24 consecutive outs. Then got that streak stopped when Andy Van Slyke beat him with a home run, a 2-run home run. And the fastball fouled back. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Usually when you talk about a pitcher with 24 consecutive outs, it's as a hitter. Keith now has had 3 hits and 11 times up so far this year, and there's a line shot off the breaking ball. 10,193 here tonight. Paid attendance. One and 2, and the fastball for ball 2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Mets got off to a quick 3-0 lead. Strawberry scoring the 3rd run of the 1st inning. And Carter with a home run got the Mets' 4th run, and Strawberry had a monstrous home run. And Carter picked up his 2nd, so the Mets have been pounding on it. 3-2, the count to Hernandez with Strawberry on deck. Ball 4. So a runner on with no one out here in the top of the 7th inning. The Mets leading 8-4, and the batter will be Darryl Strawberry. Darryl has walked, grounded out, and he has homered. And what a home run that was. This is what it looked like last time up as Darryl took a fastball well over the fence to left center field. And the first pitch to Strawberry this time goes out toward left field and is picked off by Tim Raines. Hernandez back to first base, and that'll bring up Gary Carter. Carter with 2 home runs and 3 at-bats. Got a report on Kevin McReynolds. He was examined tonight by the team doctor here, and he's on a day-to-day basis with a slight sprain of his right knee. Did that sliding into second base, breaking up a double play.
Carter had only 1 home run against the Expos last year, now with 2 in this game. Kevin McGrinnell sitting next to Lenny Dykstra. Fastball backing up on that outside corner. Jeff Parrott looking a lot like Jeff Reardon with that heavy beard. High slider, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Jeff Parrott has a tremendous amount of intensity on the mound. Sometimes virtually talks to himself.
Good curveball there, and it's 1-2.
There's nothing wrong with talking to yourself.
This one you answer is when you're in trouble.
Answering yourself is a problem. This is a good breaking ball, and Carter looking for something other than the breaking ball that got locked up.
1-2, and Carter gets drilled with a fastball that gets him on what appeared to be the elbow. So Carter pays for the 2 home runs.
This fastball just bearing in on Gary. And of course, Gary really moves into a pitch. A dead pull hitter. No chance to get out of the way. And there's the strong possibility of intent.
And it brings up Howard Johnson with runners at first and second and 1 away. Howard 0 for 2, lined to left field back in the 3rd, and Raines making a great play on him to rob him of at least a base hit. And the curveball for ball 1. Howard 1 for 9 so far this year. Mets about hit the Expos 9-7. Again, the curveball, 2-0. Howard with 36 home runs last year with 32 stolen bases, a 30-30 member. High pop-up. Mike Fitzgerald, the catcher, will try it. 2 men away. That'll bring up Tim Tuffle. Back in 1985, Parrott was named as the top major league prospect in the California League by the managers of that league. There's Buck Rogers out to talk to his pitcher. You might wonder what the managers are doing, because Mark McGuire and Will Clark were also playing at the time in that league.
Some guys bloom earlier than others. And I'll tell you what, with those 2 guys in that league, obviously I'm not aware of what their statistics were, but Parrott must have been pretty impressive.
Some guys bloom late, some guys don't bloom at all. Probably the biggest misconception is that just because you're young, you'll get better. I hear that all the time. Oh, he's a young fellow. He'll get better. He'll get worse, too. 1-0 pitch, and it appeared that it was a balk call. It was. So Parrott called in the balk for not coming to the complete stop. The call made by Randy Marsh, the home plate umpire.
And immediately, watch Marsh. He'll come up and put both hands up. No pitch. He's called no pitch already. Well, the ball was on the way.
Moves the runners up. The 2nd and 3rd. Now Tuffle with another in scoring position. He takes for ball 2.
Parrott almost didn't stop again that time.
Hernandez at 3rd and Carter at 2nd. Mets leading 8-4. And Tuffle takes for ball 3. Tuffle 0 for 2 tonight. He also has walked.
And you have to wonder why Parrott doesn't just go ahead. Fitzgerald looking over to Buck Rogers in the dugout and walked Tim Tuffle.
Comes in with a strike, 3-1.
2 out. Pardon me, Ralph.
I was going to say, he also could wind up in this spot.
Sure, he
wouldn't
could
have
wind
to
up.
stop.
Then he wouldn't have to worry about balking in a run.
He walks him. So the bases are loaded, and that'll bring up Kevin Elster.
Now, in that situation, the prudent thing to do would be to go ahead and walk him, because after the balk is called with first base open, a wild pitch or a pass ball lets in a run, another balk lets in a run. There are all kinds of things that can happen, and you're already so far behind in the count. Why not go ahead and put him on intentionally? But I guess it's the intentional unintentional.
Elster, the batter, and he has 1 hit and an RBI and 3 at-bats, and he takes a fastball. Elster hitting .300 so far this year, 3 for 10. Last year batted .310 in Tidewater. And that fastball called a strike, 1-1. Pitch looked low.
Kevin Elster thought it was low.
Curveball bounced to Rivera, the shortstop, and he picks up the forced play for the out that retires the side. In the inning, no runs, no hits, 2 walks, a batter hit by a pitch ball, 3 men left on base. The score at the end of 6.5 innings, the Mets 8, the Expos 4. Now here's a word from New York television.
Get your tickets now.
Oh, you're looking at Greg Nettles, now with the Montreal Expos, wearing his familiar number 9. Nettles, one of those persons who has the initial N for his last name, has hit more home runs than anybody in the major leagues with the name that starts with an N. I'd just like to acknowledge a letter from John Martin, who figured out all the others, starting with Hank Aaron.
That's be about the easiest one right there. Hank also is the first among those with 2 A's at the start of his name.
Now let's not get into that. Tim Raines to lead it off. Raines 0 for 3 in this game, and 2 for 12 for the start of the season. One that's really tough is X. Nobody has ever played in the major leagues with a name that starts with an X. Last name. Hobbled by Tuffle. Can he get him? And he does get him. Tim Raines, one of the fastest in baseball, thrown out on the bobble by Tim Tuffle.
And a little help from Keith Hernandez at the other end. This ball hits the seam between the turf and the dirt and then takes a funny hop. Tuffle stays with it, and he did get him. He just did get him.
You know, Steve, in one of those trash sports television shows, Lenny Dykstra beat both Tim Raines and Vince Coleman in a 40-yard dash.
Hard to believe it.
I asked him how he did it. He says, I got a good jump. Now the batter, Mitch Webster, who is 2 for 3 today, and he fouls off that pitch, so they count 1-1.
I was talking earlier about the fact that Mitch Webster was talking to me before the game about the difference between spring training when he hit 145 and the start of the season. Here's what he had to say.
In '85, I had some success and really felt like I saw the ball, and was really relaxed that year. So I thought, well, I'll go back and try that. Maybe that'll get me back out of, the bad feeling anyway. And so far, I'm seeing the ball good. I haven't really smoked anything. I've got 7 hits in 2 days, which is outstanding. I take that all the time.
He's had 9 hits and 11 at-bats so far this spring.
Whatever he's doing, it's working because he's got 2 more tonight.
Don't change anything. And he takes the fastball and the count 2-2.
There's an intelligent player. He had the presence of mind to think back as far as 1985 as to what he was doing differently and go back and try that, and it's working for him.
When you're in a slump, you'll do anything.
Oh, that's true. It's like to get in a time machine and be transported back to 1985.
You'll even listen to your wife tell you what you're doing wrong. I mean, on the ball field.
Oh.
3-2 the count. And the swing and miss, and Webster's out.
Guess you're in rare form tonight, Robbie.
Ojeda picks up his 5th strikeout. And now with 2 men out here in the bottom of the 7th, the batter will be Hubie Brooks. Hubie 1 for 3 tonight.
You know, I'm looking at this list of people born with different letters of their last name and the leading home run hitters in each category. Tim McCarver figured out why there's nobody on here with the name X.
Right back to Ojeda, and we'll get into that a little bit later on as the Mets retire the Expos in order. The score at the end of 7, the Mets 8 and the Expos 4. Now here's a word from your Lincoln Mercury dealers.
It's going to be the pinch hitter for Bob Ojeda, and we want to remind you that you're watching Mets Baseball 88 on WWOR TV, Secaucus, New Jersey.
Lenny Dykstra, who had the game-winning home run RBI in the first game of this 3-game series, a 3-run home run, breaking a 4-4 tie in the 6th inning as the Mets won it 10-6 to lead off, and Mookie Wilson to follow.
Now, here's Tim's idea as to why no one is on this list with the name of X and leads with the most home runs. Not only has no one ever played Major League Baseball, no one's ever been born with a name that starts with X.
That's a pretty good reading.
That'll handle it right there. Case closed.
Send your letters, fans, to Steve Zabriskie and Tim McCarver.
No. It's Timmy's idea.
Lenny Dykstra, and the first pitch is fouled off at strike 1. Jeff Barrett on the mound for the Montreal Expos worked in the 7th inning, had the bases loaded, but got out of that jam. Now working here in the 8th. Dykstra takes fastball, strike 2. Dykstra with a home run in the first ball game and a single in the second, and this time he grounds the ball to Galarraga, the first baseman. Parrott takes the toss. 1 away.
They call Galarraga El Gato Grande, big cat, and he is, for a big guy, rather agile, mobile, and hostile out there, and he did a good job of keeping his body in front of that ball.
Galarraga close to Gil Hodges in size, and also handles the glove about as well as Gil did, as Mookie Wilson steps in and goes after a fastball. Mookie tripled in the first, scored the first run of the ball game. He also walked and scored in the 5th. 1 for 3 tonight. One ball, 1 strike. Missed the fastball, 1-2.
Those last 2 pitches from Jeff Parrott, the hardest he's thrown tonight.
Went to the curveball. It's hit hard, and there's the big cat right there. Yeah, he put the claws on that one.
A Keith Hernandez type play by Andres Galarraga. Fine reaction. The ball's by him, but he gets a glove on it, then quickly wheels and races to the bag to beat Mookie.
So 2 men away as Mookie loses a base hit. That brings up Lee Mazzilli. Lee 0 for 4 tonight. He has yet to have a base hit this year. He's 0 for 5 for the season. Batted .306 last year. Mets leading 8-4. 2 men out. Top half of the 8th inning. Fastball missing. 2 balls, no strikes. And the fastball fouled back. Mets open up their season next Tuesday against the Montreal Expos. First game at Shea this year. Three and 1. ball 4. So Parrott walks his third batter in 1 2/3 innings. Also has hit a batter, but has not given up a base hit. And that puts a runner on with 2 men out and brings up Keith Hernandez. Keith was Parrott's first batter, and Keith worked out a walk in the 3-2 pitch. Mets now have had 7 walks in this game. 1 batter hit by a pitch ball. They have 9 base hits. 17 men on base as they lead by a score of 8-4. And the fastball. Neil Heaton was the pitcher of record and the starting pitcher for the Montreal Expos. Bob Ojeda is now out of the ball game for the Mets, and he is on the plus side as the pitcher of record in this ball game. If he picks up the victory, it will be his first ever against Montreal. He's 0-3 coming in. Breaking ball fouled off, strike 2.
And if things stay as they are, Neil Heaton still will have never beaten the Mets, as he will be 0-2 against New York. As you see Roger McDowell throwing in the Mets bullpen.
Two strikes to count and strike 3. So Keith Hernandez strikes out to end the inning. A walk and 1 left. The score at the end of 7 1/2 innings. The Mets 8, the Expos 4. Now here's a word from Chrysler. Cincinnati Reds beat the Cardinals 8-1. Danny Jackson, the winning pitcher, a 3-hitter home run in that ball game for Horner, his first of the season. Dodgers 2, Atlanta 2, top of the 7th inning. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia rained out. San Diego and San Francisco later. In the American League, Detroit defeated Boston by a score of 11-6. Tanana was the winning pitcher. Knowles with 5 runs batted in, 2 home runs. Chicago 2, California 1. That's the final score there. Minnesota and the Yankees rained out. Toronto trailing Kansas City 3-2, top of the 5th. Milwaukee, Baltimore rained out. And it's Cleveland 1, Texas nothing, bottom half of the 5th, as Steve Zabriskie comes in for the play-by-play, and the Mets make a couple of defensive changes.
Mookie Wilson goes from center field to left field. Len Dykstra remaining in the game now in center field, and Lee Mazzilli out. Roger McDowell in, and he will bat second in the order in Mazzilli's spot. Tim Wallach hits the first pitch from McDowell on the ground to Kevin Elster, and quickly there's 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Mets leading 8-4. Roger making his first appearance of 1988.
There's Rogers' record last year, 7-5, 25 saves, an earned run average of 4.16. That's very high. 28 walks, 32 strikeouts, 95 hits, and 88 2/3 innings. Not a good year for Roger.
Of course, Roger started the season on the DL after a hernia operation, missing the latter part of spring training and the first part of the season. Here's Andres Galarraga, 0 for 3. Only takes 1 away, and the count 2-0. Sinker is fouled off at home plate. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Roger won't pick up a save in this ball game. He's coming in the game in the 8th inning. You have to come in and pitch 3 innings to get a save. Under the conditions that exist right now, the Mets are leading 8-4. He's just getting some work.
Mets with a big win Monday, and then of course last night losing 5-1. So McDowell really was not an opportunity to work until now. Johnson over to cut it off in front of Elster and throws out Galarraga. Again, the defense continues to shine. 2 out here in the 8th.
And Steve, so I won't have to carry this all the way to Philadelphia. I'd like to acknowledge an umpire school as you look at the replay. Johnson to Keith Hernandez, the New York School of Umpiring. We mentioned that Harry Windelstad had a school, and we got a nice letter from Jeffrey Oxman, the executive vice president, saying that there is a fine umpiring school in New York, the New York School of Umpiring.
You don't have to go to Florida to learn how to umpire. Mike Fitzgerald misses the sinker.
All you have to do is be a spectator. All the spectators are umpires.
That's true. But they have not necessarily been to school, as has Randy Marsh, who's behind the plate tonight. 2 out, nobody on for Fitzgerald, who's 0 for 1, plus a pair of walks. He has scored 2 runs, reaching on an error in the 4th inning. And he scored back in the 2nd after walking his first time up. 1-1. Right in there.
You know, if there's ever a field that's open for people to come up with a very good job, if you like to travel, of course, it's umpiring. They are looking for umpires. They need them, and of course expansion is in the future.
2-2 now to Fitzy. Tough job, but can be rewarding. And I think it's only a matter of time before Pam Postma is in the league. Maybe even next season, as she came very close to being the first major league female umpire. Foul outside of third.
She is not the first female umpire in minor league ball.
No.
There have been others.
But she's gone farther than anybody. Of course, she's been at it 11 years. This is her 12th season, and you really have to give her credit. She's taken quite a bit of abuse and survived, and everybody who's been involved in a game that she's umpired has said that she is very competent. 3-2 now to Mike Fitzgerald with 2 out and nobody on. Well hit to left field on a line, but there's Mookie Wilson to haul it in, and the inning is over. 3 up and 3 down for McDowell in the bottom of the 8th inning. We'll go to the 9th with New York leading 8-4 after this for the good old Skies.
You know, baseball cards are real popular these days. For one Ron Say, I can get a whole case of my favorite beer, Miller Lite. I don't want some watered-down minor league version of a regular beer. I want the less filling beer that tastes great.
Hey, Ace! Give me 2 cases, you can have this baby.
Dream on.
1 case. Nope, a 6-pack. Half a can?
The big league light beer, Miller Lite, where less filling tastes great.
Okay, I'll give you 2 cases, and you don't have to take the card. But that's my final offer. Must have a couple of mine already.
Whoa.
And a new pitcher for the Montreal Expos. It's St. Clair, Randy St. Clair, who has worked in one ball game that he'd probably like to forget. He threw that home run pitch to Darryl Strawberry that hit the ring on the roof here. Randy with a record of no wins, no losses, an earned run average of 18. 1 inning of work, 2 hits, and of course the Strawberry home run.
And you know he has a great arm. You have to have a great arm to throw a ball that far.
He estimated the ball traveled, or would have traveled if it hadn't hit that ring, 525 feet.
In my estimation, that is a very low estimate. Way up there. See where those lights are in that ring, and then the Teflon-coated roof material is attached?
That ring's 180 feet above the floor.
And that's one of the connectors that supports the roof, a series of cables up above the tower that we used to look at before the roof was in place.
And that will be retracted later on this summer.
Well, let's put it this way, Ralph. They're going to try.
They say they have done it once, and if you've done it once, you can do it again.
They could have retracted it here the other day. It was really that nice. But they didn't want to chance it. Here's the man, Darryl Strawberry, who hit another Titanic blast back in the 5th inning. A 2-run home run. Well over the left center field wall. Darryl now with 3 home runs, 4 RBIs. No cheapies among them. Fastball right in there for strike 1. See, Darryl's only 4 away from the all-time Mets lead. Held by Cranepool. A rocket to right. Darryl has not hit a ball anything other than hard since this season began.
He's 8 for 12 now this season with 3 home runs. This ball was a shot. If he'd have gotten underneath it just a bit, it would have been out of here in a moment's flick of a moment.
St. Clair threw up his hands.
Well, he held him to a single. I guess that's a victory right there.
That ball was hit. St. Clair threw up his hands like, here we go again. I mean, another rocket. Here's Gary Carter, who has hit 2 home runs tonight in 3 trips. He flied deep to right center his first time up. Breaking ball way away. So in Gary's fourth at bat, he was plunked on the arm. Hit by a pitch in the seventh. Strawberry at first with nobody out. We're in the top of the ninth with the Mets leading 8-4. A breaking ball lofted to left. Tim Raines coming in hard. And right there in front of him is Luis Rivera, who stays with it and makes the catch dangerously for out number one.
Well, every time you see any of those monstrous shots or you hear about someone opening up with 3 home runs the opening day of the season, as George Bell did for Toronto, you hear all kinds of explanations. But if there is one, in my book, it's expansion.
Why can't a guy just have a good day? I mean, you know, why does there have to be an excuse or a reason? George Bell then turned around the next game, went 5 for 5.
But they kept him in the ballpark.
That's a moral victory. Howard Johnson's 0 for 3 plus a walk. And a pitch out of sorts.
Last year, a major league record was set for home runs, 4,458. 5 teams in Major League Baseball last year had 200 or more home runs. The old record was 2 in one year. Detroit, Toronto, Baltimore, the Cubs and Giants all had over 200 home runs. It all started the 200 home run mark back in 1947 when the Giants, the New York Giants, now in San Francisco, had 221 home runs. The record is 240 set by the Yankees in 1961, the first year of expansion.
Well, I think last year it's the baseball. No one can tell me that the baseball is not different.
Well, the baseball is certainly live. There is no doubt about it. And it hasn't changed other than the fact that they wrap it tighter.
That's all it takes. 1-1 to Howard Johnson. Breaking ball fouled off, 1-2. I think, too, that examination has shown that the cowhide cover, used to be horsehide, but not anymore. The cowhide cover of the ball is thinner than it used to be, and that would make the ball a little bit smaller and harder because it wouldn't be as cushioned with the thinner layer of leather.
You're telling me the cows have thin skin then?
No, that's the way they process it. If they knew what they were doing, they might be upset, and then you could say they were thin-skinned. Marsh wants to see the ball as it went into the dirt, so he will remove it from the game, and the count is 2-2 to Johnson. Strawberry at first with 1 out here in the top of the ninth. Popped up, could be playable in foul territory, but it's drifting back just a few rows out of Mike Fitzgerald's reach. So the count remains 2-2. Somebody happily has a souvenir. Probably even more happy because he's a Mets fan and he got it off the bat of Howard Johnson. Corner, and Johnson is punched out of there, and Hojo's going to have to keep looking for breaking stuff because he's not going to see many fastballs.
6 strikeout by Montreal pitchers tonight, and this one called a strike even though it might have been out of the strike zone by home plate umpire Randy Marsh. One thing that hasn't changed, everything changes I guess, is that they always play long games on getaway nights.
You got that right, especially at an airport with a curfew. The Mets must leave. That's a balk called on St. Clair on his throw to first, and he wants to get some confirmation from Harry Wendelstedt, the crew chief at second base, as to why the balk was called.
Well, it's awfully hard to ever pick up a balk. It's umpires. Well, he just didn't get his stop to stop. That's the problem right there.
A lot of guys, Ron Darling included, use that jump turn, but you have to break contact with the rubber before you make a step if you're not going to step directly toward first base.
You cannot make that move with your foot on the rubber. That is right. And he did not get that foot off the rubber.
I'm sure that's what Harry was telling him, because it was pretty apparent on the replay. So Strawberry now at second on the balk. Second of the ball game. Jeff Parrott had one called on him. And the count to Tim Tuffle remains 0-0. Tuffle 0 for 2, 2 walks, and an RBI. And the Tuffle shuffle much in evidence. Fastball for strike 1. Slider. 0-2.
St. Clair's father was a Major League ball player, a catcher.
Probably where he started pitching, was throwing to his dad.
He actually started out as a catcher and couldn't hit, so they switched him into a pitcher.
No balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, and Strawberry at second base. Now 0-1-2. If the Mets, as I was saying before the balk was called, do not leave the airport at Dorval before midnight Eastern time, they must then turn around and bus clear across the countryside to Mirabel Airport because of the noise abatement rule. Breaking ball fouled off down the right field line and out of play, and the count remains 1-2.
Yeah, Mirabel is so far away, it's in another time zone.
It's also in the exact opposite direction that you need to go to the first airport, which is Dorval, where the charter awaits. Now, that brings up an interesting point. If the plane that we're chartering on is sitting at Dorval and we wind up having to go to Mirabel, is there going to be a plane there?
You
and
take
if
the
so,
bus. You take the bus to Burlingame.
what does the plane do? The plane get on a bus and go over to Mirabel? Can't fly. Down low, 2-2. Got to be out of here by about 11:45, and right now it's pushing 10:25. So it's going to be tight. Now it's 3-2. St. Clair had Tuffle 0-2 and has thrown 3 straight balls.
Oh, for the days of the trains.
Now, Ralphie, you really don't want to go back to that.
I am lying when I said that.
It's romantic and all that, but it took forever. It wasn't all that comfortable. I love to ride the trains. I really do. Ball 4. Good job by Tuffle not to go after the breaking balls in the dirt from Randy St. Clair. And with 2 out, the Mets now with runners at first and second. Tuffle walks for the 3rd time in the game. And here's Kevin Elster, who is 1 for 4. He drove in a run with an infield base hit in the first inning. Randy just overthrew that one, a term that's probably a misnomer, but nonetheless a good description.
All right, here the replay. He throws a ball, fastball down in the dirt. Randy, of course, fighting for a job to stay in the major leagues. He's been up and down. His flying mileage has increased considerably throughout his career.
Well, on the Indianapolis to Montreal shuttle. Ball 1, the count to Elster. fouled off, and it's 1-1.
Speaking of train rides, one of the nicest ones that we used to take was from Boston to New York. Coming down, having dinner and looking out at the scenery.
Well, I'll tell you, the one from Montreal to New York is nice on the Montrealer. It's the same type of deal where you get on in the evening, you have a nice dinner, you go to sleep, you get up and you're in New York. The only problem I have is fitting. They need to make those beds on the train a little longer. Bang my ankles up on those metal rims they have. But I guess when most of those rail cars were made, people were smaller. I don't know, were they?
Couldn't get Frank Howard in one of those berths.
No way. Kidding me? I mean, I'm 6'3", but Hondo's about 6'7", 6'8". I like to hang around Hondo. It makes me feel small. On the corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Strawberry still at second. Tuffle at first. How would Darrell fit?
He'd have to sleep standing up.
Still love the train.
You just like the free shoe shines you used to get.
Breaking ball fouled off. Still 1-2.
The Mets in their earlier days used to occasionally take the train. One time there was an airline strike and the Mets took the train. Forgotten whether it was from Cincinnati to Pittsburgh or St. Louis to Pittsburgh.
St. Louis to Pittsburgh would be a haul.
Pretty good one. St. Louis to Boston was a real big haul.
Another foul ball out of play, this time off the fastball, and it's still 1 ball, 2 strikes to Kevin Elster. Runners at first and second with 2 out in the top of the 9th inning. New York leading 8-4.
Casey Stengel had Choo-Choo Coleman and Joe Christopher cornered at a table and was talking baseball to him, and Choo-Choo Coleman took a look out the window at the scenery, and Casey saw him looking out the window, and he says, "You want to be a ball player or you want to be a sightseer?"
Elster chases one in the dirt and strikes out to end the inning. Mets get a hit and a walk, but leave them both here in the 9th. We go to the bottom of the 9th with New York up by 4, 8-4 over Montreal. After this for Express Mail. Meter, actually, I guess David Letterman called that the applauso meter or something such. Opening day when there were 56,000 here, it was up at the top near the baseball quite often, but with just over 10,000 here tonight, it hasn't done a whole lot. Of course, the Mets are leading 8-4, and that's had a lot to do with it. Bottom of the 9th, Luis Rivera to face Roger McDowell, and Rivera trying to bunt his way on, but held it back for ball 1. Roger retired Montreal in order in the 8th inning. A sinker for ball 2, 2-0. Rivera to be followed by Casey Candell, and then a pinch hitter. Strike 1, 2-1. Roger working in relief of Bob Ojeda, who pitched 7 innings. Gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned on 7 hits. Fouled away and the count 2-2. Even though it was a tough move for Hubie Brooks to go to right field, you have to really believe that Montreal's an improved ball club with Luis Rivera at shortstop, because Brooks is still in there. Probably would have a tendency to be injured less playing in the outfield, and Rivera superiorly defensively, but so far has shown a pretty good stick.
Did a good job in the minor leagues at Indianapolis. He batted .312 with 8 home runs.
Didn't miss by much, but enough for ball 4. So Rivera aboard to lead off the bottom of the 9th. First walk issued by McDowell. And the batter will be Casey Candell, who is 1 for 2 plus a walk. Candell with an RBI base hit to right center back in the 4th inning, and was robbed of a base hit on a fine play by Howard Johnson in the 6th. Ball 1.
Candell's mother was a professional hardball baseball player.
She got more publicity last year than he did. But he gives her a lot of credit for helping him learn how to play the game and how to hit. Strike on the corner, 1-1.
Talking about being in a batting slump, when you call up your mother to get you out of a batting slump, as he does, you're going to a pretty good source.
Pounded off the plate up the middle. Tuffle shovels to Elster. Not in time at first, as Candell runs very well and the ball not sharply hit. Now Rivera is staying at second, and Harry Wendelstedt now saying that Rivera is safe at second.
Well, this is a big mistake. You got to make sure of getting one right here. They have an easy out there, and Elster never touched the bag, as you can see, and he made a rookie mistake right there. You've got to get one in the 9th inning. He had no chance to get a double play against Candell. These are the things that you have to learn in baseball in the major leagues. And there is a big play, because now 2 men are on instead of 1 out, no one out.
And the message board in center field calling for Bruy, French for noise. And what remains of the 10,000 that were here, providing the Bruy. And here's Wallace Johnson, who last year was an outstanding pinch hitter for Montreal and hit .247 overall.
He and Lee Mazzilli tied for the major league lead in pinch hits. It was 17. Now the Mets, instead of being in a position to close out this ball game, in jeopardy.
Runners at first and second with nobody out, and good speed on the bases. In the dirt again, a good play by Carter, and it's 2-0. Behind the pinch hitter Wallace Johnson lurks the Rock, Tim Raines, and the top of the Montreal order. And there he is on deck. Rounded foul outside of first. 2 balls, 1 strike. Davey Johnson. A little bit of nervous body language. Well, they're getting up there a little bit for the Sparks crowd. Right back to McDowell. Fires it over the head of Elster. Tuffle to third, and safe there is Rivera, and the bases are loaded with nobody out, and Raines will represent the tying run at the plate.
Well, here's another bad play. McDowell, who normally is an outstanding fielder, just throws it over the head of Elster. No chance for Elster to catch it. And Tuffle, backing up the plate, comes up with it. He thought he had a chance at third to pick up Rivera, but Rivera gets back to the bag. So now 2 big errors, and the tying run is at the plate with no one out.
A walk and 2 fielder's choices that potentially could have been double play balls, and no outs recorded. Raines is 0 for 4. He has grounded out 3 times and lined hard to center. Pounded into the hole. Johnson over to cut it off, goes to second for 1, and that's all. Rivera scoring to make it 8-5 New York, with 1 out and runners now at first and third.
right here, they make sure one. Tuffle doing a good job. He knows he can't get a double play on Raines, who is as fast as anybody. A run scores, and the Mets get one out. Tying run, though, still at the plate, as the Mets lead by a score of 8-5.
And that tying run represented by Mitch Webster, who is red hot. He is 2 for 4. He has had 9 hits in 12 at-bats this year so far, and he takes the ball. Webster robbed of a base hit his first time up on a line drive, played beautifully by Tim Tuffle, or he'd have 3 hits on the night. Right in there. And on the play, Raines steals second uncontestedly.
That takes the double play away. Raines gets his second stolen base of the season. He had 50 last year. And now the Mets have no chance for the double play.
Ball 2, 2-1. Casey Candell with fine speed at third. Tim Raines with great speed at second. Mitch Webster representing the tying run. Pops it up. Foul territory. Carter with plenty of room. 2 away. The runner still at second and third with 2 out for Hubie Brooks. Hubie now becomes the tying run. And on the night, Hubie 1 for 4. He had a single to left center in the 5th inning. Ball 1. Hubie Brooks, one of the toughest 2-out hitters in baseball. Want to put Brooks on intentionally and bring the potential winning run to the plate, but you don't want to necessarily pitch to him either. It's a dilemma. Strike 1, 2-1. That potential winning run, should Brooks get aboard, is Tim Wallach, who drove in 123 runs last year.
He hit 26 home runs.
There he is. Two balls, 1 strike, 2 out. Strike 2.
Hubie had a big cut at that sinking fastball. McDowell's got good movement on his pitch. Hubie just sitting fastball, and he had a big swing at this, but the ball dipping and no contact.
Well, he didn't miss it by much. He swung right through it. So the Expos down to their last strike with 2 out and 2 on. Fouled away.
Tremendous gap in right center field.
Bankstra shaded over toward left. Strawberry playing Brooks really closer to the line than you would play a right-handed pull hitter. But Hubie can hit the ball the other way, especially with 2 strikes.
That is true.
Pops it up, however. Kevin Elster right there. And the Mets hold on to win it 8-5 and take 2 of the first 3 in the opening series here in Montreal for 1988. An exciting 9th inning, but a Mets victory nonetheless, as Bob Ojeda pitches 7 innings to pick up his first win of 1988. And Neil Heaton goes 4 1/3 for Montreal and winds up the loser 0-1 on the year. Ralph and I'll be back to wrap this one up, so stay with us as the Mets defeat the Montreal Expos 8-5. We're back after this for Michelob.